everybody. Good
Hey guys,
evening. How you doing, Victoria?
I'm doing well. I'm working on a new podcast. That is not the announcement. Sorry, don't mean to hijack anything.
It is a good announcement, though. Give it a little bit of information to our listeners.
Yeah,
So
why not? Because
why
what
not?
I found about people in the paranormal, something I love, you're also horror fans a lot of the time. It's going to be a horror podcast with me and my sister, Lexi Chavez, and yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. We've been told we're very funny, and she makes me laugh more than anyone else on the planet, and I'd like to see her more and talk about horror because I got to tell you, I'm thinking about it a lot of the time. I'm wearing my Child's Play 2 shirt. So,
Yes.
but yeah, that's a
Okay.
announcement, not the announcement. I will hand it back though over to you, but I'm doing well.
Hey, it's 9 Gates. Chucky's known as the demonic doll, so that works.
Hey, see?
Uh, but yes, as Victoria said, we do have a special announcement tonight. I know we are only once a month, so some people, maybe forget about us in the loop, or maybe listeners or viewers want more of us. We're not really going to get into a nitty gritty subject tonight or a topic, but we do want to announce something that you can look forward to, likely in 2027, maybe sooner, but 2027 is probably the best bet with this announcement. So we wanted to do a mini episode. We don't want to waste your time. We're not going to be here for an hour. We're going to be here for however long it takes us to discuss this. Hopefully you watch it. Tomorrow morning we'll make the official announcement on Facebook with our little fancy graphic and write-up that Victoria made, and the graphic myself. So a little piece of the puzzles for both of us to come together. But so Victoria, how did this come together? This special announcement. I want to keep them. I want to keep them going for a couple minutes.
Honestly, it came about like we would like to do events together. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Hey, this one we're not ignoring you guys this time. Hi. And it's not on purpose. I swear, we just get way too into what our guest is saying and then just like kind of forget. Sorry, guys. But we want to do events together. We want to take the show on the road. When we were originally talking about the podcast, something eventually that we want to do is go to like purportedly demon infested places, see if I pick up on anything, maybe investigate. I don't know. I'm not an investigator. I do psychic walkthroughs. So I'd be like, James, that's you. You can have fun. See if we see anything. You never know. Like sometimes I'm not sure how demonic energy works. Does it linger in places where they were said to once be? And also go to places that are media famous, like to see the Exorcist steps and like all sorts of stuff like that. So that's where this really started. We wanted to start to present together.
Yeah. So what Victoria said, and I'm gonna try to pull it up in a second. Give me a second. I should have did this before, but it has been a day and a half for sure. But yeah, so our announcement is going to be a lecture series, 9 Gates lecture series called Wicked Entities and Dark Folklore. I'm going to see if I can put it on here. Give me a second. Tap to share. No. Oh, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like it's going to start from like Mesopotamia and James's area of expertise, and then go into modern times. What are demons doing now? What kind of folklore is going on now? There it is.
Yay! There it is. Wicked Entities and Dark Folklore. Woo!
So yeah, if that is something that interests you, or you want to have us at your event, just reach out, 9gatespodcast@gmail.com, because we'd be happy to. We don't get to see each other, me and James, because he lives in Rhode Island, I live in Wyoming, so
definitely far distance for sure. That's like a 13-hour drive, if not more. And yeah, no, it'd be great. I know Victoria's going to be at Mass Paracon in October, Sam Baltruse's event. I'm going to stop by to say hi to Victoria and all my awesome friends. And but yeah, no, like Victoria said, we want to uh, start speaking together, and we want to take this show on the road. You know, in the sense like, yeah, we're virtual. We could be anywhere right now in the world if people are listening from different countries. But we want to engage with people that maybe haven't heard about our lecture. We can tell them about our podcast. So if they hear our lecture and are interested in more, they can go back to some of the topics that maybe we won't discuss in a lecture. You know, the lecture is geared toward wicked entities and dark folklore. It will be a set thing, and you know, I know Victoria loves to be planned, and so you know it will be structured. But what we will also do, and I think, and Victoria and I will talk about this, but I think for the event coordinators, so we're not giving the same lecture all the time. You know, we can make differences based on maybe the geographical region. Maybe there's a specific demonic house local to that event, and maybe we can interject that, talk about it, the folklore of it,
I
the
like that idea.
of it. So you know, we'll try to mix it up, but I think that it'll be a little bit more contained when we do our lecture, in the sense of like, instead of each topic being a different thing each month, which is our current plan, and we have up to March of 2027 booked now. We have so many great guests. I'm so excited. But you know, we get to be a part of your listening experience. You get to hear from us and not just the guest, which is the guests are great, but you get to hear from us and our experiences, our research, and you know, you get to hear the folklore aspect from Victoria. You get to hear the demonology aspect from me, but in a more contained package that you could hear in 45 minutes to an hour and walk away with something and be happy, and maybe that will gravitate towards you to our podcast, which won't stop even during the lecture series. It's good,
Hmm.
same thing but two different things at the same time, right, Victoria?
Exactly. I want to do more. I mean, as far as like when we go on the road, hi everybody. Um, I think it'd be a lot of fun to do the podcast even when we're out. Like we could even sit down and do like a mini episode, you know. We want to hear from you guys. What do you want to see us do? Um, because I gotta tell you, I'm not afraid. Are you afraid, James?
No.
Nah, right? Like we've been doing this a little while. Like nobody's afraid here. So let's go have an adventure. Let's go see what's up. Now,
Yeah.
to be fair, if there is a real demonic entity still hanging around a place, I'm not going to be able to go in it. It's just too overwhelming for my abilities. But then we can be like, oh, she picked up on something, you know, like just
Mm.
keep an eye out for that. I think it's something even non-psychic people pick up on. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm in a point in my life where I would like to have a lot more fun and just go and do something awesome. And this is just one of the ways that I get to go hang out with people like you. And you can ask us questions. I know you guys ask on here and we don't always get to it, which, sorry. But we are trying. And this way you can ask us in person. You can come talk to us about our books and anything that you've seen on the podcast that maybe we didn't go into a depth about, but you want to hear more about. Um, there's a lot more that we can do with this, and I think the sky's the limit as long as me and James are both on board. And yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, as you can see to the left of me, no, left of me, yeah, left of me. Uh, our lecture series is what we're talking about. If you're just tuning in now, we just announced it. As she said, that you know, you get to ask us questions, you get to hear a combined lecture of basically multiple different items of what we talk throughout our topics throughout each episode we have. But yeah, no, Nine Gates for me is going to be a long ride. You know, I think that there's so much ground we can cover. You know, with folklore in itself, quite expansive, and in the same realm, demonology as well. You know, we might have to reiterate some topics in the future on the podcast, but with a different perspective, maybe a different guest. But you know, we there's so much ground. You know, Victoria and I hear so much misconceptions, but what's great about it is with the lecture series is those misconceptions you can bring with you, and we have a better opportunity to answer those questions or those misconceptions, and hopefully lead you into the right direction of our topic, our whole mantra of that Gates podcast. And
Mhm.
it's exciting, and I think Victoria and I have so much experience uh, together that you won't want to miss it. And I'm not saying that that we're better than anybody else, and you should have us over them. Actually, you should, but but uh, but you're going to get something different. It's not going to be the same old demon talk and this over exaggeration of things. And I'm not pointing any fingers or throwing any knives at anybody, but I'm just saying we're going to give you real meat and potato information that you should take away, especially if you're an avid paranormal investigator or you're a demonologist hopeful or even you're a folklore lover. You're going to learn something, in my opinion, and why I say that, and not to be biased because this is our show, or Nine Gates in general, is that every time we've had a guest on, we've learned something. Victoria and I have stepped away from that episode and been like, I learned something. Maybe we thought about it, but it brought it to the forefront of our mind, and we thought deeper on it. And I think that shaped us for the next episode, and that's going to continue happening because we have a laundry list of people. But as exciting as that is, we see all these great friends of ours at these events, and they rock it. They deserve it. Kudos to them.
We just want
Um,
to join them. Like we want to
well,
go be part of the fun.
but yeah, we want to join them, and we want to be a part of it. We have a question from Dave from me, I guess. What's up, Dave? James, what is your most memorable paranormal experience that really cheaped you out? Changed? Really cheaped you out? Cheaped? I don't know. Really cheaped me out? Or it's I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, but my most memorable experience. Oof.
I think he means, I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Definitely, Dave, if I'm not right.
And,
I think he means the one that freaked you out the most.
oh, that really freaked you out. Okay. Oof. I haven't necessarily been freaked. I would say the one time that I met a spider in an attic and fell through the access door of the attic, that was pretty freaky. But I would say that if I had to put something on there just to say that tingled my bones outside of like a residential case would be out Old South Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee. There was just so much different things going on, like shadow figures being seen, objects and equipment going off. Um, One of the few times I've ever seen a scratch manifest right in front of me. I was right behind, I believe it was Keith Bailey that was there with me, and our friend Sean. I can't think of his last name. Only way I know Sean is that he's a game tester at Bethesda Studios, the guys that make Fallout and Elder Scrolls. But he got scratched right on the neck, and it manifested. You saw the scratch appear, and um, as soon as he started, like, I feel like something's touching me. You saw it, and we shined a light on it, and it was clearer, of course, than what you could see the red bar. We shined it. It was like something scratched him, and I would say that'd be pretty freaky because of all this other phenomena going on. That like physical touch, like what we're seeing, what the equipment's picking up, objects being manipulated. I'd say that would probably be the most freaky. I would say that out of all my investigations, like at a public place like that, that would probably generated the most actually active activity. Not just something we caught and record or listen to later, like active activity.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
sounds
was
really scary. Oh, my gosh.
it was pretty
Um,
scary. It was a memorable weekend or week though because we got to check out Hales Bar Dam in Chattanooga, and Chattanooga, impacted me. Like it's such if you've never been to Chattanooga, Tennessee, it is absolutely gorgeous and scenic, and it's like what you would imagine, uh, like wanting to live in the mountains or the hills, or forest.
Wow. If he doesn't mind, I'll answer it too. So
Go ahead.
one time I saw something because that's not my gift, right? I have basically all the others. I don't see things. That's my mother's gift. Um, so I was at Warwick, and Spirit said to me, because I'm clairaudient, "Oh, you're gonna want to watch this." So I stopped, looked at the window, and I saw something big walk by it, and instantly felt, and it was dark. And I realized, because I kept watching, because I tend to think of things kind of like a debunker. I'm like, okay, was it a guest? Because people do go up on tours up in that room. And this is in England. Um, but my family lore is that my mom had an experience while she was up there too and felt some really dark energy. And so I'm like, I'm curious. I'm like, let's go over there. I was telling my friend, because I want to test this out. That room, the Dowager's room, has something that lives there. And I could
Mm.
feel it. It was a very distinct sense of dread. He sort of hung back. He likes to take his time when he's like running around places. And I'm a lot quicker. So I had the room to myself for a little while. Um, and I kept stepping in and out, trying to figure out, is this sense of dread real, or is this because I have a personal story about this room in my family lore? And it's like, nope, there is a distinct sense of dread, but I got the feeling that whatever lives there is walking around. And it was walking around in a maid's room based on where I saw it, which was blocked off to the public. And I could feel it. It was very dark. I do believe that it could have been a demon just based on what I did experience, but I need a lot more to convince me personally when something's a demon. Um, it could have been an incredibly malevolent spirit. It could have been a lot of things, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it was creepy. But hopefully when we take the show on the road, we can have some more creep ass experiences. Am I right?
Yeah, and we can talk about them on the podcast, when it relates to a specific topic, or when we're talking the first couple 15 minutes that we do before we bring a guest on. But yeah, if we can bring stories on, hell, even if we can go live during some of these experiences or circumstances, that'd
Oh,
be
that'd be
great.
fun.
Show you documentation. And Jeff, I have to go back to this. James, you sexy Chinese eating some of a Biznitch. Uh, Jeff used to live in New York with his wife Crystal, and we every time we got together, we always ate Chinese food. Now they moved all the way down south, and they're far from me, so I don't get to see them much anymore.
Sorry, my camera is falling, but that's pretty funny.
But yeah, Dave, great question, but creep me out. I would say that really, I think earnestly, what truly like was the most creepiest though was definitely, and I've talked about it tonight and day. It definitely was my first possession case in Salem, Massachusetts. Even though it made my faith stronger, and I've talked about this for many years because this is an old case, but I'd say that definitely creeped me out because at, until that point, even though I studied demonology and I was attempting to apply it in the field, uh, that was the first ever true demonic case that I ever come across, where sort of the face shape, the eyes go black, superhuman strength, like that icky feeling a lot of people talk about, like you're drudging through quicksand or very amounts of large mud, and it was just a sickening feeling. I would say that creeped me out the most because of just how it felt, and just experiencing it for the first time, having that validation that like all this material and all this insight from other people really might truly be real. And I would definitely say that probably is on the level of most creepiest, just because of just that feeling, just that the essence, just everything that went in on that case during that moment was just still gives me the shivers today of like just like experiencing those things. Like it's things we talk about, so things that you see in the movies that are sometimes over exaggerated, but in reality, sometimes it's the things that you see in the movies have a little bit of truth to it. And I would say that would be the creepiest just because of that. Like just because of that scenario. Like there's a lot of people that don't believe in demons, and I can understand that bandwagon. Sometimes I want to jump on it with them because it's like sometimes it's just sometimes too crazy, right? That it's being thrown everywhere. It's like I feel like people like the Oprah demon and say, "Here's a demon, here's a demon, here's a demon," So it's like I can understand that bandwagon of demons that don't exist, but I also pray and hope every day that the people that are involved in this never have to come across it. And if they do come across it, they're able to deflect away from it real quick and get somebody that's specialized in it involved, because the people that tend to think that they can help are the ones that in most cases do their best, but also create havoc sometimes because of how they handle it and the ways that they might ask certain questions, and then they might get affected, and it might be turmoil in their life. But yeah, no, that was definitely creepy. But what did you say? Love this show. What y'all's take on shadow people, lower manifestations or higher manifestations? Victoria, you can answer that first. I have a huge deep theory on this, and I've talked to Mike Ricksecker extensively on the topic, and
Nice.
um,
I used his
so
book for
yeah,
when I was looking at the phenomena. So I have this idea that I think shadow people are an easy form to take on our plane. And they show up in every single negative supernatural experience. They show up in shadow people, obviously, but like skinwalkers, demons, even some extraterrestrial, interdimensional jinn. I've seen it all across the board, and I'm wondering if it's just easier to show up as a shadow thing because there are different types of shadow people as well on our plane.
it's actually quite similar to my theory on it. My theory is that it is a low form of appearance, in the essence that one, why it equates to demonic activity is because verbatim, most demonologists will agree on this, and most adaptations of demons sort of agree with this. But one thing most theologians or demonologists can agree on is that they're non-corporeal spirits. So that means that they never had a physical body at any point, and they are pure spirit, pure energy, whatever they're made of. I use those words loosely because we don't know what encompasses these things to appear. So they appear as a shadowy figure because one, it's easier to appear as that, and then sometimes it's also how the people see them as well. Thirdly, when it comes to intelligent hauntings or maybe a regular haunting, is the shadow person could be that absence of being able to manifest full apparitional form. That is the best way they can show themselves. So it's a shadow person, and they aren't able to build their full characteristics uh, due to that apparition. So I believe that it all depends on the scenario, but I also believe it has some form to do with the characteristics of the person, either not fully manifesting, or two, because they have no way to manifest. They weren't physical ever, and they didn't have physical characteristics. So it's for us the easier to welcome something, even though shadow people have said to scare people and do scare people. I think it is far easier for them to show themselves as us as something we recognize, right? To kind of easier maybe lower our guard and say, oh, it's a person, right? But where demonic shadow figures can become different and manifestations do happen.
They're
There
way
have been
bigger, which is
there
interesting.
Yeah, I was actually on an episode of my ghost. I wasn't, but my case was on my ghost story. It was called Demon Shadow, and the team ECPRT that I worked with on that case actually caught over 7 foot tall shadow figure crossing a door, looking back into the door. And I do talk about that case sometimes. It was very fascinating.
Was it
But
hooded or did it present
it
as being not anything besides a shadow like person,
yeah,
but like a big one?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And other thing was going on in that house, of course, but that was one piece of evidence or data they collected that is pretty hard to throw out. And they're a reputable team at that point where they're no longer together. But they wouldn't fake something like that. And a lot of other things happened in that case where it kind of gave credence or credit to that piece. But also, what the moral of the story was is that when demons do appear sometimes out of a shadow characteristic, if they show up in like a full apparitional form, there's usually something wrong with that
Big
manifestation.
time. Hmm.
Long fingernails, long
Like something will be off. Like it could be
it'll be
eyes
deformed. Yeah.
or feet, or they're just not. I don't think that they can fully form as even trying to form as human because they're so far off of what humans are. So they can't actually appear as us.
Hmm.
And yeah, no, sorry. We're getting into phenomena now, which is like my favorite thing in the world. So sorry. Didn't mean to hijack you there.
Hey, William's on the same bandwagon as you with the
Okay.
gin experience. He saw a gin when I was 8 or 9. He didn't deal with one; he saw one.
Interesting.
But
I'm pretty
that's
sure that's what my possession case was. So fascinating. I love
yeah,
that it's not nearly as uncommon as people think it is once you
yeah,
can identify what they are.
of course. And that's the hardest thing. I always tell people, like, when they ask me the question, how do you determine from A through Z, right, of what you're dealing with? And I says, it takes time. It takes observation for one. It takes accounts of the experiences of the experiencer.
Takes data.
Um, yeah, it takes data. Like it really, there's a lot. It takes feeling, in my opinion, as
Mhm.
well.
Your
Uh,
body will remember things,
yeah,
especially about demonic experiences and jinn, which is pretty much the next step, I think,
yeah,
below demonic. Like if demons are over here and humans are here, jinn are in the middle because they can do things demons can do. They tend to behave like humans, though. So
hmm
it's just that's what I personally think in the hierarchy. I haven't seen anything that goes above what jinn manifestations can do yet.
yeah. No, and that's great. I agree wholeheartedly. And that's the big thing of what we do. Like, you're a classifier. Like, I classify, but more so the times in my cases I'm not able to do so. But I either have data or I have experiences or can validate the experiencer's experiences, or even sometimes I'm not able to do so. But what I do is I have to do my best to get them off the ledge, right? So it's like I wish sometimes, like you could observe it so much better, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, to come up with a better conclusion. But a lot of times, traditionally, I can only find like a cause and effect, and then at that time they're in detrimental need of being helped through ritual or guidance or whatever. So it's very hard, like to like classify in field. But what Victoria said is like, if you do read it and you do get into it and you do hear the accounts of people and other writers that maybe have done with this or really dug deep and researched it heavily like Victoria has, there are key differences. But as I tell everybody, it can take hours on end for you to distinguish that, like to even talk about it. Like, I was asked that on a podcast the other night. I'm like, you have 5 more hours, like,
That's
because it's
real.
hard. It's hard, like when people are experiencing things, it's all unexplained, right? And there is really no scientific nomenclature to say this is what it is. So you really have to compile as best as you can. And it to me, that's what I find most fascinating about it all, right? Is that it is the unexplained. We try to throw darts in a dark room and see if they land in certain spots. I feel, but all you can do is continue researching. If you're doing this line of work, is keep learning, um, figure out the different classifications, and hopefully that will help you to a large degree when you're doing field work.
Mhm. And that's really like what drives my research. Just I'm interested in the way that entities behave, especially negative ones.
Mm.
But I have done like more neutral entities like fairies and Bigfoot, although they have at times been negative experiences. But I don't know why. I mean, my mind just kind of goes to the dark stuff because I find those experiences the most interesting.
Dave has another question. Could the majority of hauntings be created by leftover energy, or could it be us manifesting the hauntings by negative energy? Ooh, it's a oh man, that is one of my favorite theories. Ah,
Go ahead. Yeah, like tell us.
uh,
Let's find out.
well, I think hauntings are multi-layered, right? I think a lot of the times we are the battery, so a lot of our baggage, our emotions, our trauma can energize maybe that trauma or emotion in if you believe stone tape theory can um, create an echo that lasts there over time. Like we can implant that trauma, that emotion, that story, and sometimes it can play back what we know as residual. But I also thinks think at sometimes that those echoes also can uh, feed off of us and activate from us. At the end of the day, is I always harp on Charles Dickens because of what he said, but a house a house isn't haunted, or a house isn't haunted unless somebody that is house isn't haunting. Oh wait, no. How does he say it? House isn't a haunting unless somebody haunted enters into that house. And I always found it fascinating because it's like he tells you in the late 1800s that we are a piece of that puzzle. Like I always say, it's like the tree in the woods. Does a tree in the woods that falls down make sound? Well, it does, but if we don't hear it, how do we know? So sometimes we don't know a place is haunted unless we become a part of it, right? And we activate something either through our emotions, trauma, or something that's there that senses weaknesses or wants to toil or mess with us. I think it is a mixture of us. I also think psychologically, um, sometimes we can procreate off of those echoes, and we create these manifestations, these self projections that then can become intelligent. Before it was really big in technology, which AI, artificial intelligence, is so popular now. It's been around for a long time. The ideologies of it you see in science fiction, Terminator made it quite popular. But the idea of artificial intelligence has been a metaphysical term for eons. And that is basically what people call an egregore, a poltergeist, a tulpa. And these are manifestations that people can create based off their trauma, their psychic projections. And sometimes those things can emulate with the echoes in a place, and those things can weave together and activate that haunting, or even intensify that haunting. So there's so many different layers to a haunting that you can look at why it activates. Um, but one thing I always say is it activated before we are there? You hear the stories of somebody walking past the building that's proclaimed haunted. They see a shadow figure in the window looking at them. But once again, is that truly happening, or is that because they have been preconceived to that folklore, that myth of that place, and walking past it? They have it in their head, they see it, and the mind's playing them as well. So those are all things you have to wonder, right? But I always do think that and I hate making humans so important, but we are very important because we are very highly intelligent creatures. But I always say, and this is a joke, but I if you look at hauntings, like why aren't we haunted by dinosaurs? Why aren't we haunted by certain? Why are we haunted by troglodytes? And I always say it's funny, but at the end of the day, we never had those emotional connections to these people. Like a lot of these historic places that are haunted has had that emotional resonance in the culture, right? Because they've been key figures, or there were key battles, and those are things still resonated in our culture. So we still carry it, we still think it, we still put it into the ethos. So whatever those echoes are, they don't dissipate. They just keep um, manifesting because we keep thinking about it. But we had no emotional connections to dinosaurs. Yeah, we might all love Jurassic Park, but we didn't have a pet dinosaur. We didn't have Dino from the Flintstones. Uh, but what you see is like animals being experienced. Like cats, dogs, things that we become emotionally intertwined with that we can also experience as well. Prime example is the USS Salem. In some points, you can hear animals on the ship, but animals and people were brought on board of the ship during the earthquake, during the rescue, and so there's that emotional resonance right there. That all that trauma and that toil and all that stuff that happened, and that then got permeated into the ship because it carried on that baggage of that natural disaster. So I look at things like that. Is that if you look at all these little pieces, sometimes it could be nature that resonates, that stone tape theory with certain items. But what activates that? Like if I put a battery in my controller right now and I click it, it's going to shut off the TV. If I take the battery off, it's no longer energized. It's not going to turn the TV on anymore. And I really truly think that is a huge piece of the puzzle of hauntings. And I've also replicated this through an experiment a long time ago that I do talk about, where we did create a haunting, and I always call it my unethical study, but this is what kind of gives me credence to believe in that we are a piece of that puzzle, and we carry these chains to us, and genetically as well. Our lineage and stuff like that. So I could talk about this subject for hours. Like I don't get to talk about it enough because it's such a deep dive that you can get lost in translation with, and some people might not understand it. But I um, really truly um, love the idea of us manifesting hauntings or us being a part of that manifestation.
Yeah, absolutely. I happen to agree. We sometimes are like the battery, right? And I think it's because I look at intelligent hauntings, right? Well, intelligent entities. So it's like we see this thing behaving a certain way in an environment. Um,
Mm,
but it's feeding off of us. At the
mhm,
same time, our bodies are energy. And I do think at times we absolutely are powering an entity, but at other times this entity doesn't seem to be intelligent. So it's like the thought form.
yeah.
Um, there are times they become quite powerful to the
Mhm,
point where, like if you look at, I haven't met the Dybbuk box yet, but I'd like to simply because people are having experiences with it, like people who are mediums and psychic and feel like overwhelming, ever present contagion energy when it
mhm,
comes to these thought forms. And I think it's because so many people are directing energy at it that it has
mhm.
become an active haunting, even though before it wasn't, because it,
Yep.
it was admitted to be a hoax.
Yeah, and that give credit to that is there's Sam Bellatrix writes about it. Many people write about certain folklores and myths of certain towns,
Hmm.
Salem being one of them. The stories of this white lady roaming Salem, and this death and this story to her. She never existed. Another key example is, I wrote about it in my first book, is the Myrtle's Plantation, the creation
Hmm.
of the creation of Chloe. Chloe never existed,
Right.
but people experience her, and people supposedly have had conversations with her. So we that is a huge piece of the puzzle. And I always say too, is some of these places that are proclaimed haunted, there's a lot of times too we bring our own baggage to these places and we leave it there, and that becomes cohesive with what's going on there. And sometimes that's the activity. Like, don't get me wrong, like
Yeah.
I know everybody loves the Lizzie Borden house and the Lizzie Borden story. The house is so cool, but truly, yes, deaths did happen there, and Fall River isn't quite nice. It is known as the stab capital of Massachusetts, but between with what's going on outside, the chaos, and what happened in there, and the people going in there with expectations, or going in there as avid investigators, maybe that don't protect themselves, or maybe have some sort of level of lower vibrational attachment, or even the trauma and emotion can bring that. And I think that is what has happened over the years of that location. And I can give you 50,000 other locations that have those same examples. But, you know, that haunting increases because of the constant flow of people. Like you said, the more people that go in there, they feed to it, and then this
Mhm.
starts becoming more of a reality, and that artificial intelligence comes into play, where it might at one point been just like a simple thought form, or just residual, but then something intelligent can come from it through procreation of our thoughts and our demeanor and our emotions and trauma.
Yeah, like it's like a mirror. It reflects back to us.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. It's I love that topic, Dave. Why did you have
yeah,
to do that? I'm now
that's a
excited.
fun one. I've been to Lizzie Borden. My feelings of it were that it was an oddly peaceful place, considering what had happened there, except for the one place I truly felt something was in the bedroom where Abby Borden was murdered. In
Mhm.
that area, there is some dark residual energy of where he died. Um, I didn't feel that much from the couch where Andrew Borden died, but that's what I got. And it was weird. My mom was like, this is a weirdly peaceful place considering what happened here. Um, we're not sure what that means, but we've also been to, we've been to Salem and we felt a lot of peace there as well. But it could also be our spiritual protections trying to keep us safe from anything. I don't think that there was necessarily evil in Salem aside from human evil,
Mm,
but we went to the area because I knew where it was, being a supernatural folklorist. I went to the area where Gallows Hill was, and I knew it was behind this CVS. So I was looking for it, and then I could feel it energetically exactly where it was. And it was very solemn, and it was very, like, it was heartbreaking, honestly. But
mm.
the solemnity and how much you could feel that people face their last moments here. And then I went actually behind somebody's house to get closer, and I could feel it was so heavy. Um, and I really felt for all the victims.
Yeah, that's another prime example of a story that has stood the test of time and resonates in our cultural identity. So, yeah, it's key points. It's a subject I love. You know, Geez, I had so many theories floating in my head, and for people to understand is when I talk about theories floating in my head, they're just theories. Like, it's not something that I truly necessarily 100% believe, because a theory can be thrown out. We can see that. We
We'll
can
get
be.
new information and change the theory. I'm the same way.
Yeah, so but oh man, it's a rabbit hole. Like when we had Kyle Cobb on talk about M theory, like I love quantum physics. Like I am not well versed in it, but I am nerdy enough to like understand a lot of the foundational structures of it, and like string theory and M theory and all that stuff. It just blows your mind of the possibilities that could be true, or it could be unfortunate, have a lot of fallacies to it. But you know, uh, the paranormal is such a deep umbrella, and they all interweave. What I don't get sometimes is like when I call myself a paranormal investigator, like I dealt with MUFON. I have a great friend that's a state director at MUFON. I was on Finding Bigfoot for 5 seconds, my 5 seconds of fame. Yay.
Awesome.
I dabble in a lot of these things because I'm a paranormal investigator. It's the whole umbrella. Like, I'm fascinated. And at points in times, they can intermingle. Like you were talking about interdimensional beings with aliens, and of course cryptids.
Mhm.
So sometimes it can all intertwine, and it can be the same, or sometimes what I feel like it could be very much different, and we like to just put everything in one basket. But It's such a large umbrella. But what's large umbrella as well, and not to get too far off the horse here, is that demonology and folklore, demonic folklore, is quite extensive, and that's why Nine Gates podcast exists, and that's why to bring back to intention. This is turning from 15 minutes to 45 minutes. To the left of me is Wicked Entities and Dark Folklore, a Nine Gates podcast lecture series, hopefully coming to you, to your state, to your town, to your city.
Your event. If you want us, you just let us know.
Yes. But other than that, before we go on too long, I got some things to do tonight. I didn't expect it to be this long, but I'm never complaining because we had some great questions from Dave. And I forgot to say, I blew you a kiss, Dave, but love you too, love you too, Dave. I almost said love you too, James. Love you too, Dave. But yeah, do you have anything else to add before we jump off?
I don't think so. Just that I'm excited. I'm excited about what we're doing, about what we will do. But yeah, tune in and hopefully we can do maybe some more mini episodes because this was a lot of fun. I really like answering questions.
Yeah, we should do a Q&A one coming up very soon, kind of give them a little taste of our new lecture series.
Yeah, absolutely. We should. So yeah.